It's now 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call our City Commission meeting to order. Val, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Snow?
Here.
Commissioner Curry? Here. Commissioner Delanoy?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Mayor Penny?
Here. At this time, if you would silence any electronic devices that make noise, turn them off or put them on silent, please. If everyone would please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. Before we begin tonight's meeting, let's take a moment to reflect, not only on the work ahead of us here in our own community, but also on those facing hardship beyond our city. Our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Texas who've been affected by the recent flooding. We hold in our hearts the families who have lost loved ones, those who've been displaced, and all who are working to recover and rebuild. As we turn to the matters before us tonight, may we be guided by compassion and purpose. Let us approach our work with open minds and a shared commitment to the well-being of our neighbors. May our conversations be thoughtful, our decisions wise, and our actions rooted in service. And I ask all these things in our Lord above. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Curry.
You're welcome, sir.
It's time for public comments. This is the time for the audience to address the commission on anything that's not on our regular agenda. Is there anyone that'd like to address the commission? Yes, sir.
I've given you some bullet points.
Just give 1 second. You need to come up, state your name and the city that you live in, and you have 3 minutes.
John Lucia, 111 LPGA, Holly Hill, right around the corner.
Thank you.
I've given you some bullet points. I don't know if this man has passed them out to everybody. But basically, I'm looking for some answers. And I know I can't ask questions here, but maybe somebody get back to me. My wife and I purchased a little duplex 2 years ago. She lives on one side, I live on the other. We've been together 40 years, we might make 50. Okay? My side is next to what's known as the Real McCoy Airbnb. When we moved there, that place was for sale. I didn't see it as an Airbnb. I was told by the neighbors, it's always quiet, he rented out a couple of rooms, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, 5 months I had to listen to construction on it by a gang of people that couldn't blame glaze for 6 days a week. I lived with that. Now, if I'm sitting in my house watching TV, I bought a little decibel meter, and my TV is running between 60 and 65 decibels. That house was built in 1954. My wife's going to be 70 next week. I'm right there with her. That house is older than us. But you know what? The window's open and shut. The house is tight. But I hear them, especially if the kids screaming in the pool. People screaming in the pool. People hollering off that second floor balcony. If you look at any of the pictures, into the pool. It all comes right into my house. I don't think that's something I should have to live with. When I found out the ordinance, when I spoke to the lady downstairs, residential 60 decibels. Well, I'm probably talking 60 decibels right now. That's not going to invade my house. Airbnb, they get 65. How? I don't know. The state, that they call that a vacation property. But that still is nowhere near the level enough. That's where I'm listening to my TV at. So that shouldn't be coming in my house, in my opinion. I do not want to call the police out there. I got a little kid out there all day long. One little kid. Hey, it's not too bad. But every 5 minutes or so, I hear her scream in the pool. She's a kid. Okay. But when there's a half a dozen, 10 of them, her out there playing Marco Polo at 10 o'clock at night, gets a little aggravating. And this guy's making $4,000 every 5 days. You know, that's more than my wife and I make in a month. Sort of hard to take. I've been fortunate health-wise. I don't take any blood pressure. I don't take anything for cholesterol. I take some pain meds. I've had one knee replaced, need another one, need back surgery, need neck surgery. But you know what I have started taking in the last 18 months? I never had migraines. I take this stuff called Butal, B-U-T-A-L-B, for migraines. I take it almost every morning. Now, is it the stress? Because I come out that door and I look over there every day? Because I don't know
Thank you,
who's
sir.
gonna be
You're
there.
going to have to wrap it up. I'm sorry, your time is up.
Oh, I thought I had 3 minutes.
You did.
Oh, I'm so sorry. All right, well, I hit the bullet points. Anybody wants to get a hold of me or my wife, I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thanks for letting me go
If you,
first.
if you just take a seat at the end of public comments, we'll try to address your concerns.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that'd like to address the commission? Mr. Smith?
Steve Smith, 1410 Riverside Drive, Holly Hill. I couldn't hear much of what the gentleman before me just said, but I believe he was complaining about the Airbnbs. And I hadn't even thought about that because I already talked about it with Joe. And there's 3 of them in my neighborhood and pretty much nothing can be done except call the police. And I don't do that unless somebody wants to be shot. But I find them in my yard and in my gazebo and in my driveway, and they don't know where they are, and all times of day and night. So the neighborhood's changed with 3 of those in one block. And enough of that. I just happened to mention that because I really couldn't hear what he was saying. But I came here tonight to mention when you all were first reading of that ordinance for the smoking in the park. Joe mentioned
We're going to, that's on
Joe
tonight.
mentioned some groups that smoke in the park, and you said something like they could smoke in their car, but that's not what I'm talking about either, not the smoking. But it's the groups. They're anonymous alcoholic groups and anonymous narcotic groups, and for the last 25 years they've enabled them to participate in the public park. With 2 new commissioners and new chief of police, I think maybe we ought to revisit that again, because I looked at the computer and there's 150 meetings during the year that are on the computer in Sunrise Park. In order to be anonymous, I'm sure that our new chief of police from Daytona knows what that word means, and you can't have a meeting in a public park and remain anonymous. So I see the same people on the wagon, off the wagon, year after year at these meetings, and we ought to try to get them a room. And as a group, we want them to be successful with their recovery. And they can do it anonymously if they had a room. And they don't participate in the program like the rest of us have to. We have to pay to rent a gazebo. We have to pay to rent a pavilion. They have 150 meetings with nobody anteing up and nobody being responsible. I think we could do better. All the rest of the towns in the county do better. And we've been a magnet for a lot of them because we tolerated the smoking. And we don't have to do that anymore. We could maybe help them be anonymous in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address us tonight? I know you want to say something. Yes, sir.
My name is Elijah Miller. Hallelujah. I just want to address something about my block. We have I came down there 2 weeks ago and complained to the code enforcement about it. We got a van and a trailer on the block, in the middle of the block, crossed way to the sidewalk, been there for over three months. I complained to code enforcement. At the last meeting, I was complaining about the parking the trucks in the neighborhood. So they had one in the neighborhood this week for 3 days. I could come down there and complain. They took care of it right away. So it's not about that. That's what because the little kids come down the block riding their bike. They can't pass. They got to get in the street to go around this truck, this van on the sidewalk. Been there for 3 months. I mean, you got the cars come through the block. They don't pay no attention to the speed limits and stuff. So, you know, I just want that straightened up. That's all I want. You know, I'm not gonna try to be no, great ball or nothing like that, but, hey, I pay my taxes. Hey, I wanna see something done. Hey. People gonna do what they want, but, hey, there's laws to go by. You gotta go by the law. And I don't think the van should have been there with no license plates on it for like 3 months or more. It's on both sides of the street. And the guy got a house for sale right there. He ain't gonna sell a house because people come out and see that, they're not gonna buy the house. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to address the commission on anything not on our regular agenda this evening? Yes, sir, Mr. Legary.
Good evening. Jim Legary, 342 Burley. I'm going to be kind of facetious here for a minute. You won't believe it.
Surprise.
So I drive around in this rain, and I see people standing at bus stops getting wet. And I think, I don't want that smelly, wet person in my car. Maybe we could arrange some better transportation for them, or some shelter. Speaking of which, is there anything going on with the one that got crashed? No, they just took it down?
Being replaced.
Yes. How much did it cost?
30? 38,000?
What? What? Golly.
Welcome to government expenses. You want
I'm
more?
going into business.
You want-
That's a new line.
You want more bus shelters? $38,000 a shelter? I say bring an umbrella and know when the bus comes and get there 5 minutes ahead of time. That's what I say.
Wow. Well, I'm just
$38,000, I'll buy everybody an umbrella.
just leave them at the stop.
Put the city logo on it.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Wabi, did you want to come up?
I couldn't cut off our citizen of the year. I just wanted to say I have a bus shelter to sell for $36,000. Anybody's interested? But anyway,
I got your
don't
number.
know if the city knew that the fitness thing out at LPGA Park, we built the brand new nice pirate ship thing, which my niece says is the best one in Volusia County, best park in Volusia County. Rivals the beach, if only we had waves here. But that's rusting. I don't know if it didn't get painted in time and some things are missing. I wasn't sure if that was in the budget, but I'm sure, what's the old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And so, we can, get a group together.
Phil, you talking about the fitness thing or the new pirate
The
ship?
fitness thing.
Okay,
not the-
yeah, okay.
And they
Yeah.
also cracked the sidewalk
Yeah.
as they were building it. Were they responsible to repair that, or did we have to pony up the cost for fixing the concrete sidewalk?
I think they're supposed to be replacing that sidewalk.
All right, is there, and then I just wanted to make it that aware, just to add another thing for the city to.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else like to address the commission? Have any chocolate tonight?
Danielle Latona, Holly Hill, 904 Newcastle Court. I just wanted to take a minute to congratulate our chief on having 1 year in our city. And I've been here since 2005, and I gotta say, there's been some good chiefs, but you take the cake.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to come up? I think that's almost everyone in the room.
That attaboy's gonna cost.
All right, seeing none, we'll close audience participation, and we'll move on. Let me tell you, I told you I was going to answer some of these things, sorry. When it comes to the Airbnbs, Tallahassee has taken away local municipalities' home rule, which is our ability to create laws to regulate the Airbnbs, unless they were in existence 10 years before they were ever created. I don't know who would have that foresight, but several cities did. And when it comes to the noise ordinance, I think the noise ordinances only kick in after 9 or 10, Chief? When do the noise ordinance?
From 7 to 10 is 60, and from 10 to 7 a.m. is...
Okay, okay,
65 during the day and 60 at night.
okay, okay.
60, 50.
Yeah, so unfortunately, like Mr. Smith said, he has 3 in his neighborhood, and there's very little that the city can do other than call the non-emergency number if you have excessive noise. And I'm sorry,
It's life altering.
yeah, I can only,
Thank you. I'm sorry, I got a lot of
Okay.
things.
okay, all right.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Then we talked about the gazebos, and maybe those anonymous people should have a room. There's plenty of rooms they could rent. They could rent Seco Hall, they could rent the clubhouse. I think the reason they meet in the park is because they don't have to pay anything. And years ago, we did look at banning smoking in the park. Unfortunately, at that time, the legislature said it was illegal for us to ban smoking in the park. And they just reversed that decision, I think, last legislative session. And so that's why you see the push for all the cities in Volusia County. And I think out of the 16 cities, I think we're one of the last ones to come on board, just because it was just brought to our attention. Anyone sees anything with code enforcement, call the code enforcement. That's what they're there for, sir. If you see things in your neighborhood that aren't quite right, there's 13,000 citizens. That's about 26,000 eyes. And unfortunately, our 2 code enforcement officers can't see anything. So never think that you're being a pain in the rear when you call things that aren't right in your neighborhood. It doesn't even have to be in your neighborhood. The one thing that has changed recently, though, is you can't call and make an anonymous complaint. You got to give them your name. So that we had ex-wives and ex-husbands making complaints against their exes, and that wasn't right. So call code enforcement when you see it. Bus stops, I think the bus stops are the nastiest, dirtiest 100 square feet in our city. When you drive past and look at the bus stops, whether there's an enclosure or not, I challenge you to find one that doesn't have at least half a bag of trash by it. And there's usually a trash can right beside it. They're nasty. There's one right by my office. I pass it every day when I walk to the post office, and there's pizza boxes, there's dirty diapers, there's just trash there. And so we found out how expensive they are. It's a difficult situation. It's just like public restrooms. You want to provide them, but people don't want to take care of them. So that's just my opinion. I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything on to public comments that you heard tonight.
I understood this gentleman saying that we need to help the people who are in these groups who can no longer smoke outside and might not go for help anywhere. Is that correct?
Now, let me help you out, because I've been around. What he's talking about is you have these NA and AA groups that will come to the park for free.
Right.
They announce these meetings publicly through social media, although they're supposed to be anonymous groups, and they end up in the park sometimes disruptive. We have the farmers market are there on a Sunday, and I've gotten some complaints out of the folks that are there. I believe what Steve is saying is if these people aren't going to rent the facility where there's some control, they shouldn't be allowed to just congregate there on their own, although we don't have any mechanism that prevents them from doing that. The last time Mr. Smith came up here, I did research that there are some parks in Jacksonville that do prevent groups from gathering there unless you have a permit.
Right.
We don't have that here, and I don't remember, it's been a number of years since we looked at that.
Right.
But that's what, Steve, is that accurate, what you're trying to portray?
Okay.
Is that there, we did offer for those groups to use Seco Hall, but
Right.
they don't want to go to Seco Hall because they're not allowed to smoke in the building.
Right.
So with this smoking ordinance, if it does pass, we'll be able to prevent them from smoking, and maybe they won't want to gather there on a weekend because they won't be allowed to smoke. And no, I don't agree that they should be allowed to smoke in their car. If you want to smoke, you go off property, period.
Okay, I just don't want anybody to lose the opportunity to get help.
Well, there's
and I
plenty of
misunderstood that.
opportunities
Okay.
for these groups to meet. There are, and this is a legitimate group, they're not like so there are plenty of organized meeting locations for them to get their required time in that they need to.
Okay.
This is more, a lot of people that come to this group are traveling, and as they're passing through, they see on social media, oh, that you can go to a group here on Sunday morning, and they'll stop in here and they'll keep going on their way. Some of them are regulars, they come back every week.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And maybe I can help to clear it up a little bit for you as well, because we were on the commission that had all these discussions. As a matter of fact, we've discussed it many of times at a commission meeting with Mr. Smith. And what we really decided was anyone can go to the park and enjoy the park, get a pavilion, enjoy the pavilion. Now, we do rent out the big pavilion that they have the fruit and stuff in.
Right.
That's rented out. But if nobody is renting it, we don't prohibit people from meeting in there or any other pavilion that's out there.
Okay.
Or any other area, I'll
Right.
just put it. And so we were of the opinion that these people are seeking help and trying to recover from whatever their issue is, narcotics, alcohol, whatever it may be. And by no means do I want to impede somebody from being able to do that. And if we allow everybody else to go into the park, I know when my kids were smaller, and even some of my grandkids, I used to take them there all the time and have little cookouts or whatever. I never rented anything. Now, if I wanted to do a big party and I knew I needed the room, I would rent.
Right.
But a large majority of people go there on the weekends,
Yeah.
just take up a place. And I personally saw no reason why these groups shouldn't be allowed to do the same thing. Now, if somebody's renting one of those spots, then they can have them removed if they are in that particular area.
Okay.
So they would call the police department would handle it.
Right.
So that's kind of the background of where we've always been and what our opinions have been. Or Mayor Penny, if I'm saying anything incorrect, please jump in. But that's kind of what the background is of it.
All right, great, thank you.
Anyone on this side?
Don't we still have somebody going around picking up trash? We still have somebody that does that?
When we have the positions filled, and it was just recently filled, so.
Wondering why there's.
But summertime has got to be a killer for that person.
I don't even think he's on board. He might have started today. We just hired him. What's that? Monday. Starts Monday.
I guess the bus stop's his first place he needs to go.
You know, I'll tell you like I told the mayor several times, because he comes in and talks to me about it often. I can clean those bus stops and I can clean those bathrooms, and a half hour later, they're going to be in the same condition. It's not the city's fault. It's you have slobs that go there. They are slobs. They don't know how to take care of themselves. They wouldn't treat their house that way. They shouldn't treat our public restrooms and our bus stops that
A
way.
lot of them probably treat their homes that way.
Very possible. But it's not due to lack of maintenance or care from the city. It's because these people are slobs. I can't be any more. And Mayor, we've had this conversation.
I know.
My
It's frustrating.
custodians will clean them at 9 o'clock, and at 9:30, they're a disaster.
It's difficult.
It's sad, it really is.
I just did a quick search for recovery meetings, AA recovery meetings within 20 miles of this location today. There's 45 from 6:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. So there's
I
no
didn't
lack
realize
of,
there were that many.
no lack of places for people to get help if they're looking for help, so. Any more comments on public comments? Seeing none, we'll move to approval of the minutes of the June 24th, 2025 workshop meeting and the June 24, 25 regular city commission meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Now we will move to the consent agenda. There's 2 items on the consent agenda, and the action stated is for each item on the consent agenda. Unless the city commissioner removes an item from the consent agenda, there will be no discussion on individual items. Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to discuss anything on our consent agenda this evening? Seeing none, we'll close audience participation and entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
I second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Now we'll move to item 5, which is our regular agenda, which is Resolution 2025-R-50.
Resolution 2025-R-50 by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, ratifying years 2 and 3 of the 3-year agreement with the Police Benevolent Association of Holly Hill, the PBA, October 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2027, providing for severability, providing for conflicting resolutions, and providing an effective date.
Any questions of staff at this time?
No.
Anyone from the audience like to discuss this issue? Seeing none, we'll close audience participation and entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion needed amongst the commission? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Now we're on to Resolution 2025-R-51.
Resolution 2025-R-51 by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, approving a budget amendment request utilizing carry forward funds in the amount of $200,600 to create a budget for the lift station number 20 bypass pump project, awarding all state civil construction for this project at a cost of $176,500 and authorize the city manager to execute the same and providing for severability and an effective date.
Any questions?
No.
Anyone from the audience like to discuss this? Seeing none, we'll close audience participation, entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Johnson.
Second.
By Commissioner Snow. Any discussion needed amongst the commission?
No.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Now we'll move to our public hearings, which is ordinance 2025-0-3089.
Ordinance number 2025-0-3089 by title only for second and final reading. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending and restating Chapter 42, Pensions and Retirement, Article 3, Firefighters Pension Plan, Section 42-69, Vesting, providing for codification, providing for severability of provisions, repealing our ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Any questions of staff?
No.
Anyone from the audience like to discuss this? Seeing none, we'll close audience participation, entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We'll give it to Commissioner Snow. How's that, Jeff? All right. All right. Any discussion needed amongst us?
No.
No.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. We'll move to ordinance 2025-0-3090, second reading.
Ordinance number 2025-0-3090 by title only for second and final reading. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, adopting a new section 58-133 prohibiting smoking and vaping at publicly owned parks and recreation facilities within the city, providing for definitions and exceptions, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, providing effective date.
Any questions?
Nope.
No.
Anyone from the audience like to discuss this? Smoking
The-
in the parks.
Yeah, the number 2 under public hearings?
90, right?
It is
Yes.
90, yes.
I sent an email to Mr. Forte and Valerie. I don't know if you got it. I apologize, it was late. I had a family emergency. So, did you?
I responded back to you, told you we'll address your concerns tonight.
Yeah, I was on the road. So I have 2 copies. I thought I.
You didn't,
I know you didn't say your name.
Oh,
or anything.
Danielle, I'm sorry. Let's
No,
go.
You got to do it in the microphone.
We don't need it, we have it.
Danielle, you got to do it on the mic.
Danielle Lavona, 902 Newcastle Court, Holly Hill, Florida, 32117.
Wait a minute.
She only has 2.
What do we chop liver over here?
She'll be able to verbalize what the concerns are.
Oh, okay.
So I wrote the letter, sent it in as stated, and I'm going to try to read it so people understand it. Dear City Clerk and honorable members of the City Commission, I am writing to formally request clarification and procedural transparency related to ordinance 2025-03090 titled Prohibited Smoking and Vaping at Publicly Owned Parks and Recreational Facilities Within the City. This ordinance was presented for the first reading on June 24, 2025, and scheduled for a second reading on July 8, 2025. It repeals Section 58133 of the City Code, which previously prohibited smoking and tobacco use at designated youth athletic facilities and parks, and replaces it with new Section 58-133, expanding restrictions to all publicly owned parks and recreation facilities within the City of Holly Hill. The revised section defines public parks. I'm going to go on. It explicitly excludes the portion of Hollyland Park under the control of Pictona of Holly Hill. Concerns regarding procedural legality. The exclusion of Pictona of Holly Hill, Inc. from the ordinance was not included in the version presented at the June 24, 2025 first reading, and was not listed on the agenda for the July 8, 2025 second reading. This raises significant procedural concerns under statute 166. Anyway, Florida statutes, I lost my place. Proposed ordinance to be read fully, 2 public meetings, and to receive advance notice. Since I'm short, I'm just going to read the last. I appreciate your attention. I'm asking the city attorney to provide an opinion of the legality of exempting a public facility from a citywide ordinance, especially under Florida law, the municipal code, public health, and standards of equitable application. My main reason for this is that all residents be treated equally and transparently in this legislative process. And I'm requesting where the exemption took place. Was it written? Was it verbal? And who authorized it? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience like to discuss this matter? Yes, ma'am.
Charlotte Baumgart, Holly Hill, Baumgart. I have a concern, and I'm not a legal person, okay? But my concern is that also at that meeting, last meeting, concern was brought up about a lack of penalties for noncompliance with the law. And I do know that somebody said at that meeting that was going to be in this second read, and it isn't in there. And my question is, how can the police enforce something if there's no penalty for listed in there for non-complying with that ordinance? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And also, I would like to make sure that it would be, I looked at some other ordinances, smoking ordinances in the other cities, and they all mention penalties in their ordinances. I don't know why we didn't. And then, is it going to be a violation? Is it going to be a fine? Do I go to jail if I do it? Is it a felony? I just think that it needs to be clarified that this really isn't, in my opinion, workable yet. I served on a lot of committees while I was, committees and councils before I retired. And something like this would have either been tabled or voted no, because it's not complete, in my opinion. I'm not trying to be overly critical, but that was something that came up that the commissioners talked about with the penalty for that. And I see my time is getting low, so I'll forego for now, I'll be up for the next one too.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to talk about smoking in the park? Seeing none, we'll close items participation, and I think Mr. Forte has an answer for both of
So
you.
I'll start at the last one first. The penalty phase the penalties will start to take effect on October 1. I spoke with the chief, we met after the last meeting, and between now and October 1, they're going to be doing a lot of education, verbal notifications, warnings, things of that nature. We don't include the penalties in the ordinance because the penalties may change, and we'll change them by resolution. So a resolution will come back adopting the penalties of how that is. We already have penalties in place through code enforcement. This is a municipal code violation. It's not a state statute or a federal or a state law. So all of the penalties would still fall under the same level of penalty that we have through regular code enforcement violations, of which this would be a code enforcement violation that would be enforceable by the law enforcement officer. The challenge that you have is issuing somebody a citation that doesn't attach to anything. So for example, if you go to the park and you say, all right, you need to stop smoking, and they don't, and an officer wants to write them a citation, and they say, I'm not going to pay for it, it doesn't attach to their driver's license, it doesn't attach to their property, so there's really a very difficult challenge to get them to pay a penalty. What we can do and we can enforce is we can trespass them, and if they don't comply, we can remove them from the park. They would be given a trespass warning, and if they come back on the property, they would be trespassed, and the violation would then be a trespass violation, which is an arrestable offense. So that's how that would be handled. With regard to Pictona, Pictona is built inside of a park. Hollyland Park is still Hollyland Park, and there's no smoking allowed inside Hollyland Park. However, within the fenced-in area that operates as Pictona, they have their own set of rules. And I can't go inside of Pictona and enforce a rule. I can't go in, it's operated as an independent entity. So I don't even know, I don't believe they allow smoking over
As
there.
a member, they do not allow
It's a
smoking.
smoke-free campus.
I asked them, it's a smoke-free campus?
Yes, they do not
So-
allow smoking.
The only reason I exempted them out of the ordinance, it was my decision in consultation with the attorney to write it in there, because I don't have an authority to go onto their campus to enforce it. But knowing that they're smoke-free, I did send an email to them, I didn't get a response back.
Minors,
they
they're
are.
on vacation.
So, I sent it to Angie. So if they're already a smoke-free campus, well, now we just included the rest of the property to not to allow smoking. So that's, I hope that answers the question.
Well, I mean, realistically, those that would hope to be perceived as athletes, and some athletes, I fall in the first category. But, so, it is smoke-free campus.
And I heard one concern, Scott, if you could address the difference between first reading and second reading, that things do change.
Yeah, the ordinances do change between first and second reading. What can't change, if you change the title, if you make so many changes that you're really substantively changing the title to the ordinance, then you got to do first reading.
But we didn't change anything. The exemption was in the first ordinance.
Okay.
The ordinance has been exactly the same
Yeah.
between first and second.
So it wasn't added in the second, it was contained in the first as well.
Okay.
Val can pull,
I don't want to argue. I'm all in favor of it, just so you know. I'm not opposed to smoking in the park. I go with my grandson. I don't want smoking.
the language has not changed. The language always said, however, that portion of Highland Park that is under the control of Pictona, Holly Hill, pursuant to an agreement with the city shall be excluded from this regulation.
Right.
But it was excluded from reading it here.
No,
We don't read the,
we didn't read the full.
we don't read the ordinance in entirety.
And I would like to make a motion to approve.
But there's no
Nothing was amended.
Commissioner,
Somebody says it, doesn't mean it's true. Nothing was amended, nothing was changed between the first ordinance and the second ordinance.
Okay.
Nothing was changed, nothing was added, nothing was deleted.
thank you. Commissioner Johnson wants to make a motion to approve.
Second.
I tried to
Any-
get it through when I was a mayor a long time ago. It didn't work because the state don't want to do it.
Yeah. Any discussion needed amongst the commission?
No.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chairs unanimously. Ordinance 2025-0-3091.
Ordinance number 2025-0-3091 by title only for second and only reading. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending Chapter 66, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 3, Bicycles, Division 1 generally, to prohibit electric bikes, mobility devices, and motorized scooters from sidewalks, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Any questions?
No.
Anyone from the audience like to discuss this? I think one of the ladies said they wanted to come up.
Charlotte Baumgart, Holly Hill. Basically the same thing. Again, what are going to be the penalties? I mean, now you're listing them out for the first one, but that's not in the ordinance, that's not.
We have to pass there's no sense to make a penalty if the ordinance doesn't pass. So we pass the ordinance, then we establish the penalties afterwards.
Who establishes the penalty? The
We do.
commission or?
Yes.
By resolution.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. My concern is that the issue also, and I think Danielle might talk about this too, that the issue about the children riding their motorized scooters to school was brought up at the meeting, which is now at last meeting. It's not addressed here. And my concern is if you're having the kids riding their motorized scooters in the street on their way to school, you've got the school buses there, it's rush hour traffic, you've got the parents dropping off their kids. It's an accident waiting to happen. I mean, I just think that somehow that should at least be exempted if they're going to be doing it, and that's their mode of getting to school. Thank God they're going to school, you know, but I don't know.
I don't think they're going to receive a ticket. I think it's going to be an educational opportunity for the officer to talk to the child about safety and wearing a helmet and operating it properly, but they're not going to receive a ticket.
Being on the street still,
They're not going to be pushed to the street.
They're not going to be pushed to the street.
because that's not what it says.
If it would make the commission comfortable, we can write, you could, in your motion, you can ask us to include in the ordinance to exempt children riding electric scooters to school on Center Avenue going there. We can add that in if you'd like, but in meeting with the police chief, we're not going to be asking children to ride their electric scooters in the street.
Oh, okay.
Not going to do that. And I did speak to the principal, and two children rode electric scooters to school last year. So there are at least two.
Well, at least that's true to be protected if that.
Yeah, we did,
sticks,
yeah, we're not going to
Because
have
that
kids
had
go in
me
the
there,
street.
so, okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to talk about scooters? Bobby, you got to be faster.
Danielle, would you like a Holly Hill?
Yes. Thank you. This time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I
I feel left out now. I feel unloved.
You shouldn't mention it. You should feel loved.
No, I mean the first one, I didn't get a
I made
copy.
10 copies of one.
I'm just messing with you.
Anyway, it's basically what was said. I'm writing as a concerned resident to formally request the city of Holly Hill ensure strict compliance with Florida statute, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, During the first reading, Commissioner Penny requested clarification regarding the ordinance application to children using electric scooters to travel to and from school, as well as definition of the handicap mobility devices, particularly whether motorized wheelchairs were excluded. I did read it, and I saw that that was added, so thank you for that, because that was very important.
That was there last time.
We didn't
I know, I'm saying, she mentioned it, and I said I read it. And I'm not saying it wasn't there last time. I went and read the full agenda where it was written. But thank you for mentioning that. My main concern is, and I don't know who told you to, because I drive Flemish every day.
Principal.
Well, I drive it during school hours every day, and there's a minimum of 10 to 12 kids on scooters, respectfully, and most of them have helmets on. So that's a good thing. My concern is there's parts of, like, there aren't even sidewalks in some of these areas to begin with, so they have to veer to the road. But I hate to see a 10-year-old child, because there are very irresponsible drivers, and I'm glad there's a speed sign on Flemish now, because that's one of the worst roads in town, people doing 45 and 50. So thank you for that, and I hope that, like you were saying, maybe add a specific children meeting on their way to school, because children could be considered under 18, and so, and a lot of the scooters these kids are driving, I looked them up, I researched them, they do like 10 to 12 miles an hour. They're not these 40 mile an hour, they're not the electric bikes that, you know, go faster than my car. So, as an example, I was on Riverside for the fireworks, and on the sidewalk with my grandson in a little scooter, a regular bicycle. It wasn't even a motorized. There was like 4 kids on regular bicycles weaving in and out, going faster probably than the scooters. So it can happen on the sidewalk, but more of it is for the kids going to school, because there are a lot of kids on Flemish that go to school in Center, and that's more of my concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keeping our kids safe is important, but as somebody who personally has been run over by somebody on a scooter going at a high speed down Riverside Drive in a full-face helmet, it hurts. You know, I got skinned up pretty good, and they just got on their scooter and scooted away. Maybe, you know, somewhere where kids are driving it a lot, we could do something about a bike lane. You know, make more of a big wide bike lane for the kids. And we can even do a event for the kids and have a competition in Orlando. All the kids competed to who could design the bike lane, you know, imprint. You know, we've talked about doing little pickleballs or things around the neighborhood. This can be something else that we get our children and youth involved in. But, you know, I think everybody here grew up walking to school or riding a bike to school. And as we look at the waistline of our citizens in the United States, you know, I really don't feel that bad for somebody riding a scooter. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience like to comment on this issue?
Commissioner Blaze, 710 Magnolia. Good evening, ladies. Good evening. There'll be a time in life that you will graduate that you're going to need a wheelchair, a mechanical wheelchair. Will wheelchairs be exempt from this ordinance?
Yes.
Thank you, because I have back injuries from the department, I have knee injuries from the department, and I will never get better, because you get to a certain point in life, the body says, you had enough, retire and get lost. Thank you.
Got half of it right, Gillis. Anyone else like to discuss this?
You can get lost in this seat.
Seeing none, we'll close audience participation. I think, I'll be a little presumptive, but I think it's probably going to be the will of this commission to add that statement in there, Joe, so I don't know if we should.
Well, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we include in the second reading ordinance, exempt children traveling to and from school for the motorized scooters and bikes. So if they're traveling to or from school on Flomich,
All that in the motion?
that's all in the motion.
There was some way to put an age limit on it. I mean, some.
School children.
Yeah, because you're gonna have kids that are, summer when they're out of school traveling.
But they're not going to school during the summer, well, unless they're a bad kid, they might be going to summer school.
Hey, kids that go to summer school are
Well,
not bad
I went to
kids.
summer school.
That's why I'm saying
Holly Hill
that.
Junior. I mean, it is what it is.
They're
But,
not bad kids.
but I just feel as though to and from school, we need to exempt that. Is that good, Scott?
Yeah, there's a definition of child in the definitions we incorporated into the ordinance from state law, which is, they refer to 3 different statutes. One of them means any unmarried person under the age of 18 who has not been emancipated. That's one of the definitions of a child that's incorporated by.
Well, sounds good to me.
It has to be a little broader and more narrow than that, because you could have a 16-year-old kid going a billion miles an hour. It needs to be,
But-
it needs to be a child.
If it was a 16-year-old, they wouldn't be going to or from school at our schools.
Right, I'm thinking you should state that going to and from the Holly Hill Public School.
What about
But I
church
don't want to
schools?
exempt UBIC school.
Doesn't exist anymore.
Oh. Well, then I will include in that any Holly Hill school.
We can add that language.
Do we have to?
So we have to, you need to
Okay, I'll restate it.
clear restatement of that.
I want to exempt,
What needs to be set up is, you're making a motion to amend,
okay, I'm making a motion to amend.
to add this language, and then we'll approve the ordinance as amended.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to amend that we exempt school children of Holly Hill School traveling to and from school for the scooters and electric bikes. Is that good? Sounds pretty good to me.
I think you should leave off scooters and electric bikes, because
Well, then what am I exempting them from?
from this ordinance,
Okay, I don't need to specifically say that?
no, because there's other modes of
Okay,
transportation.
I would like to leave out, I'm so sorry, Valerie.
Valerie, stop laughing.
Okay, I'm leaving out the description of the type of motorized vehicle.
Children traveling to and from the Holly Hill School are exempt from this ordinance.
That's exactly my motion.
I second it.
I'm not gonna say anything, but
Man, you guys are difficult.
that's why I asked staff to make the motion clear for us, so, but anyhow.
Well, there you go.
Okay, all right, so we have a motion.
City Clerk, is that clear?
And I second it.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend this ordinance. Do we need any discussion amongst the commission?
Yes, I still want to discuss it. I don't think it should just be meant for them coming and going to school. I mean, you got kids that are traveling up and down that road, even if they're not going to school, that are still going to be using electric scooters or whatever they're going to be doing, whether they're going up to Walmart or whether they're going down to the river to go fishing at 10 years old, 12 years old. I don't know. There's some that do it on bicycles. So you can't just eliminate it to going back and forth to school. I don't know how you need to write it, how you're going to cut the age of it off. I mean, you definitely can't do it as a child, as the state says, because you got 16 and 17s that can't get their license that are driving on electric scooters, and they know how to beef them up to do 60 miles an hour, so.
Is it something, Scott, that could be limited to elementary school-age children or under?
Just remember, the challenge that you're creating is having a police officer having to stop that person just to find out how old they are.
I like my
I do too.
motion as it is. I'm good.
Okay. You got anything to add, Mr. Johnson?
I think it's been added to that one already.
Okay, so for clarification, we're going to take a vote on Commissioner Curry's motion to amend this ordinance. All in favor signify by saying aye.
I, I second it.
Commissioner Snow? Okay, I don't think, I didn't hear anyone on that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Now we'll vote on the amended ordinance. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to discuss the amended ordinance?
Easy, Gillis, easy.
Commissioner Blaze, liability. Who will be responsible in the event that the individual falls on the sidewalk and gets hurt?
Themselves.
Are we going to be, the city be exempt from the liability?
They're allowed to ride on the sidewalk now.
Well, we got some bad sidewalks with bad cracks. And to make it motorized, you're going to have to reconsider your school zone sidewalks. Thank you.
Anyone else want to add their thoughts? Seeing none, we'll close audience participation and entertain a motion to approve the amended ordinance.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Leave me hanging there.
Hanging.
No.
Anyone want to discuss this?
No.
I do. I still say you need to make it where it's not just them going back and forth to school. I don't know how to write it. I just don't know how to put that out there. Somebody else does. But I just don't think it's a good idea to just say they have to be going back and forth to school.
Okay, any further discussion?
No.
About it as well, too. If an electric bike doesn't have pedals, that's pretty much unlimited speed. If it has pedals on it, I think it's limited to like 30 miles an hour.
The way the law is written, it's kind of unique in that it starts with only bicycle pedal, foot pedal or foot-powered devices are allowed on sidewalks. They have that basic statement. If they would have left it with that basic statement, that would have been really easy to enforce. We wouldn't have to be talking about this. Then they created exceptions to that prohibition under state law. And one of the exceptions is e-bikes. And e-bikes, there's three types. Find them here. There's a class 1 electric bike, means it is equipped with a motor that provides assistance only when the rider is pedaling, and that ceases to provide assistance when the electric bicycle reaches the speed of 20 miles an hour. There's a class 2 e-bike, which is an electric bicycle equipped with a motor that may be used exclusively to propel the bicycle, and that ceases to provide assistance when the electric bike reaches the speed of 20 miles an hour. And then you have a class 3 electric bike, which means electric bike equipped with a motor that provides assistance only when the rider is pedaling, and that ceases to provide assistance when the electric bike reaches the speed of 28 miles an hour. So there's some that assist pedaling, and there's some that can provide power regardless, even if the person is not pedaling. So there's different types of e-bikes,
Right.
but then the assistance has to stop at a certain speed. And so two of them are at 20 miles an hour, one's at 28 miles. So but if you don't fall into that exception, you're prohibited by law. So you can't have a bike that goes 30 miles an hour. Electric bike cannot go, electric bike going 30 miles an hour, whether it can be pedaled or not pedaled, is a violation of the law. If it's motorized.
That relates to scooters too? I mean,
Yes,
scooters
there's other criteria for scooters.
That's just non-pedaled.
So basically, if it's not by foot power,
Yeah.
it's prohibited unless it falls under one of these exceptions. So there's basically a prohibition with exceptions under state law.
So we're still back to try to figure out what the age is for this back and forth on the sidewalk and what their destination is.
That's not the question before us at this moment.
What
That
is-
was the last vote we took. This is a vote on the amended ordinance. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
Carries 4-1. Now we'll move on to city manager comments.
Two things. Val had sent an email out with regard to anybody that's going to the Volusia League dinner on July 24th.
I'm out of town.
You're out of town?
I'm out of state.
You're out of state, you're not going?
No, not
Roy and JD, are you planning to go to that?
I'm planning on going to help to represent our state.
Do you plan on going and?
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson.
Which one was that for?
July 24th, it's in DeLand.
It's in DeLand.
Oh, that's the one for the summer thing,
Yeah, shorts.
shorts and flip-flops. Yeah, I'll be there.
I would have fit right in.
Yeah.
Right.
That's my kind of gathering.
And then I met with Malia last week. She's our part-time consultant now who helps us with the concerts over at Pictona. And she's recommending that we start to charge a nominal fee for the box seats and the floor seats for concerts beginning in the 2026 concert year. So the rest of this year, we'll still be doing them for free, but next year, after January, she's recommending that we charge $40 for the box, which contains 4 seats, so $10 a seat, and $5 for the chair seats, leaving the bleachers open for no cost. So I want to run that past you and see if anybody had any objection to us doing that.
I would like to, at some point, have a workshop or some discussion on that. I just don't want to say yes right now, because I don't know.
Really?
Huh? What?
I could set up, I could do this at a work session.
I would like to have some, I just don't want to commit to that right now.
Yeah, we can do it. It's not going to take effect till January, so we have time.
That's fine, so we can meet whenever.
Why don't we meet one-on-one with the city manager? Because I don't.
Well, I
don't
can
know-
certainly do that, and if we don't have a proper resolution, then we can have a workshop.
I'm all in favor of it. $5 to go to a concert, it's nominal.
Well, that's not $5.
It is $5.
$10.
For box seat.
For a box seat.
Okay.
You're paying $20 for it now. You're paying $5 for it now.
Okay, but $5, if we when we decided to do that, that wasn't bad, but I don't know that I'm okay with the increases. All I'm saying, I will have the discussion with you.
I look forward to that.
I'm sure you do. You only have a little over a year left.
That's because she's leaving.
Oh, yes, sorry, let me clarify that. I will be leaving. That could have sounded really
That
bad.
did sound really bad.
Clarify that.
It's like, let us know about it.
No.
That's all.
Sorry, Joe.
That's all you got. Got
That's
anything
it.
for us, Mr. Simpson?
No comments.
Val, any Christmas parade news? Not yet. I was going to mention the League of Cities dinner, but Joe already took care of that. I will be out of town the first meeting in August, which is August 12th. We don't have any budget items to discuss that evening, but it's my annual family vacation, and I'm choosing them over you, so.
That seems
Yeah, and you're not going to the conference either. My
No,
last
I'm
one.
choosing them over you. Sorry.
I don't blame you, I would too.
That's all I really had. Oh, I think Commissioner Snow and I had a unique opportunity this week. We went and talked to some young people at the Fast Signs.
Yes.
So I won't say any more. I'll let you talk about it.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
And now we'll turn it over to Commissioner Curry.
Well, thank you. I do not have a whole lot, but I just wanted to remind whoever needs to be reminded that I will not be at the next meeting, so I will not be here for the invocation. It's my annual family reunion that I go to every year, but right now I have my grandbabies at home, so I'm anxiously waiting to get out of here. So I have nothing else. And you know what that's like.
Commissioner Delanoy.
No, I'm good.
Commissioner Johnson. I think it gets passed on to the mayor. I think I can handle it.
I think he can handle it.
You know, the other thing I have is, I'm paying very, very careful attention to how you're conducting the meeting tonight. because you already said you'd thrown me under the bus for the first one in August, and I have to do it, so hopefully Bill won't have to.
You're not going to be here?
No, he'll be here. He'll be here.
Oh, you're going,
He said he's throwing him under the bus.
I'm paying very careful attention to how you can,
but you're going to be in charge that night.
so I'll be able to do it like he does it.
Just remember, Commissioner Curry was talking about herself.
It'll come back to you.
Okay, all right. Anything else? Commissioner Snow, tell us about Fast Signs.
Fast Signs is one of our local businesses that is involved in so many things. It's just amazing. But the last week and this week, they're doing an internship for high schoolers who come in, and they had Chief Williams there, they had the mayor there, they had me there, they've had all kinds of people interacting with these kids, and they're bright, and they ask questions that are so insightful. It was just a pleasure. But if you ever have an opportunity to stop into Fast Signs, they are one of our businesses that supports everything we do in this city. And it was great, yeah. And I think that's it.
Just one thing I want to add for the commissioners and everyone here. I've been getting a lot of emails. I'm not sure if you've been getting emails from concerned citizens about SB 180 that passed this last year. And that has to do with the preemptions that the state has put over any changes that a municipality might make to planning, zoning, to make things more restrictive. And people are asking the League of Cities to take a position on that. We had a board meeting today. And basically, people want someone else other than them to file a lawsuit, and I don't know who you would sue, but basically the League of Cities position and my position that I've answered the emails to is that the governor signed it, it's the law, the legislature meets in less than 6 months, and it'd be much more effective to try to amend it, find out the most egregious portions of that bill that you don't like, contact your representatives while they're in town, don't wait till they're in Tallahassee, and tell them why they should change it. It's very similar to the Live Local Act that they passed 2 years ago. There was some outcry, unintended consequences, I believe, and there were some modifications made to that bill. So we have to live with it for right now, but there are some, Edgewater is very upset about it. They had passed a moratorium. The moratorium was taken away by this legislation. It goes back to July 1st, 2024, and I'm sorry? August. And then it goes all the way till August of 2027, I think, or October of 2027. And then if there's another hurricane, they'll push it out another year. I understand it was the impetus for this legislation was there was a lady that lived south of Clearwater. I can't remember the municipality. Her mobile home was destroyed in the hurricane, and it took her months and months of aggravation and jumping through hoops to put back what she already had. And so the intent was not the outcome. And I think there's some unintended consequences, and so we can change it. We can't change it, but we can contact our representatives to have them change it. And most of our delegation is very accessible. I think there's actually a meeting tonight in Deltona or DeLand, somewhere on the West Coast. The entire delegation is over there, and I understand several people are going to go talk about this. So if you know what I'm talking about, it's far-reaching, just like far-reaching on our Airbnbs that we have no control over. So just for your own edification, if you might get the emails, it's a form email, and they're just cutting and pasting it, and I've gotten about 20 of them. So that's all I've got. Anyone else have anything for the good of the order this evening? Without seeing that, we will stand adjourned. Thank you.